This is your final review, where I answer the questions that you asked me to. We're going to start with part 1, which is verbs. One of the things that you guys had a little bit of trouble with was the difference between a verb and an action verb. So, first off, we're going to look at those two questions. They're pretty close, but you'll notice that the one in number 2 says a word that names an action or state of being, versus number 6, where it says a verb that names an action, be it physical or mental. One of them is specifically talking about words that name actions, action verbs, and the other is talking about both action and linking verbs, so verbs in general. With matching, you should really remember to look for the clue words in the definitions here. See, a verb that helps form the tense or meaning of another word is going to obviously be a helping verb. And then a verb that names an action, just an action, would be an action verb. From there, you should also use a process of elimination. So answer the ones you know first. Then go back and answer the ones that you don't know. Transitive and intransitive verbs, they continue to try us. So, remember the question is who or what. Your verb plus who or what, and the answer to that who or what cannot be in a prepositional phrase. To practice, choose the sentence below that contains a transitive verb. Nadia studied after soccer practice. Volunteers sewed the costumes for the school musical. The man spoke with a French accent. I walked quickly from my locker to my next class. The strategy here is a process of elimination. Use the who or what process for each of these options. Eliminate the options that don't fit. Select the one that does. So Nadia studied what? We don't have an answer for that. Volunteers sewed the costumes. Volunteers sewed what? The costumes. There's a contender. The man spoke what? We have with a French accent, but with is a preposition. And I walked quickly from my locker to the next class. I walked what? We don't say. The only one that was a definitive option is B. Volunteers sewed the costumes for the school musical. You're going to go ahead and apply this on the practice test. But first, we're going to see the opposite question here. Choose the sentence that contains an intransitive verb. Abby twisted her ankle during the volleyball game. Juan plays the trumpet in the school band. I researched the information for my report. My dad usually parks in a parking lot. Again, we want that process of elimination. So who or what, but this time if we have an answer, it's not the sentence we're looking for, because we want an intransitive verb. Abby twisted what? Her ankle. Juan plays what? The trumpet. I researched what? The information. My dad parks what? That we don't know. D is the one we want. Try these ones on the practice test as well. Read carefully, because there is a difference between choosing the sentence with a transitive and choosing the sentence with an intransitive. Helping verbs and main verbs. This comes down to identifying the verbs in the verb phrase, then looking for the last verb. This is going to be the main verb. All the verbs before it are helping verbs. So we want to choose the helping verb in the sentence. My dad will travel to Houston next week. Our options are travel, next, week, and will. Again, use the process of elimination. Next and week aren't even verbs, so they're not options. We're going to ignore them. But will travel is a verb phrase. Travel comes last, so it's the main verb, which means will is the helping verb. Try the practice question on the test. And on to linking verbs. Look for the verbs, be verbs that are acting as main verbs. So if you have am, is, are, was, or were all by themselves in a verb phrase, they're main verbs. And they're probably linking then. Identify the verb and replace it with a be verb if it isn't one. If it makes sense, then the verb is a linking verb. If it is a be verb, or in general, replace the verb in question with an equal sign, and if it makes sense, then the verb's a linking verb. So let's go ahead and try to choose the sentence that contains a linking verb. I forgot my toothbrush. I approached the podium and began my speech. The runners looked nervous before the start of the race. Pete shared his science notes with Jerry. Again, strategy is a process of elimination. So I equal my toothbrush. Nope. I equal the podium. Nope. The runners equaled nervous. That one sounds promising. Pete shared his science notes. Pete equals his science notes. So the only option is the runners looked nervous. Use these processes and these strategies as you test. You have the time to do it. And we're going to pause there before we go on to narrative writing.